What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/EntitledParents. This story's called Stepmother Stalks My Child Online Before We Even Know She Exists. Okay, so this may not exactly belong in this subreddit, but I didn't know where else to post it. The woman in question is entitled, and she was legally a step-parent at the time, so it kinda fits. If there is a better sub for this, let me know. Backstory. I met my wifey, in high school, and she was 6 months pregnant at the time. The bio father, deadbeat dad, was a complete deadbeat, and the only reason I even met the two of them is because my friend was sleeping with deadbeat behind wifey's back and wanted to introduce me to him. When the baby, Double D, was born, deadbeat dad dropped out of school and changed his number to avoid wifey and the new baby. By the time Double D was 8 months old, wifey and I started dating. We graduated together, moved across the state to college, and went on with our lives as a happy little family. Fast forward 5 years, we have never heard from deadbeat dad until Double D was 3.5. She and wifey still technically lived with wifey's mom on breaks and such in the same house they had always been, just a few blocks from deadbeat dad. Out of the blue, he sends us a message on Facebook asking to have Double D over for the weekend. Apparently, he had gotten his new girlfriend pregnant, and they had rushed to get married. Now the new wife, we'll call her Psycho, wanted deadbeat dad to have his daughter back. It had been 5 years. She didn't know him, and we didn't know what to say at first. Out of curiosity, we checked out both deadbeat dad's and Psycho's profiles, and I nearly fainted. For nearly a year, Psycho had been collecting photos of Double D from anyone's profile that would share a picture of her. Not only that, she was posting them on her profile as if she had been the one to take them. This included shots from a Mother's Day photo shoot we had paid for. The photographer posted some of the shots with her watermark on her page before we even got the shots back. And Psycho copied them all to post on her profile, saying it was the best Mother's Day gift ever. Her baby was not yet born. Scared and angry, we found it best to ignore their request. There was no way we could get Double D to go along with spending the weekend at a stranger's house anyway. So, they sued us for full custody and child support. All hell broke loose when wifey was served papers at work. Immediately, we shut down our Facebook profiles, because that's how Psycho knew where to send the papers, and told all of our friends and family to take down any pictures of Double D. But that wasn't enough to stop her. Turns out, in addition to stealing photos, Psycho also made several fake profiles to add friends and family and get information about us. We never added anyone we didn't know, but other family members had. There were 7 fake profiles altogether. When we had them all removed and reported, Psycho started sending her friends and family to attempt to add us and gather more information about us. She showed up at Double D's Christmas show at school when we didn't even tell them where she went to school. She repeatedly showed up at wifey's work to try to get her in trouble and called the cops on us for several false incidents. The reasons listed by their lawyer for seeking full custody were because we're lesbians and that's bad for kids, we mistreat Double D never once in her life, we do drugs, even offered to do a piss test, but she wouldn't spring for it since we would all have to foot that bill. Well, based solely on the fact that over 5 years prior, he had signed the VAP, deadbeat dad got visitation rights. Wifey retained primary custody because duh, and visits were begun slowly so Double D could get to know deadbeat dad. Eventually, it moved to every other weekend for the whole weekend. But Double D never made it the whole weekend. They made her sleep on the floor in their basement, so she never liked staying there for more than a night. The custody settled, we opened a case for support, and of course, deadbeat dad tried everything he could to not be responsible for support. When he ducked out over 5 years ago, we never asked him for a dime, but they wanted all this, so we did it all. You wouldn't believe the excuses he'd try. Even though they won, Psycho didn't stop trying to destroy our names online and attempting to turn everyone from high school still in our hometown against us. She wanted the happy little family, and Double D was throwing a wrench in her plans by not calling her mommy right from the get-go. When they showed up at her spring concert, uninvited, Psycho demanded Double D take her around and introduce her. So Double D introduced them as her step-parents. Both of them. She had just turned 6 and was still a little confused by the whole thing. Oh, that was another thing, because she and Double D had the same birthday. Psycho insisted she's supposed to be mine. That's why she came early. That's what she said. One night when Double D was at their house, we get the usual call to come and get her. Only it was Psycho's mom on the phone and not deadbeat dad. They lived with Psycho's parents and neither drove, so her parents had to take them everywhere. When we get to the pickup point, Double D is in tears and deadbeat dad hops into his in-laws' trucks without an explanation. Turns out, Psycho lost her cool when Double D didn't want to stay the night again. So she sat Double D down and read her the custody agreement line for line. Then she looked at the 6-year-old angel in the eye and told her she could have her mama, that's me, arrested at any time she wanted for not complying with the custody agreement. Psycho was convinced the only reason Double D wouldn't like her is because we told her not to. Dude, I don't want her to like wifey's mom either, but I have no say in who my daughter cares for. Well, for the next week, I get to force Double D onto the school bus in tears because she's convinced I will get arrested while she's at school and I won't be there waiting for her in the afternoon. Gods, just typing that out breaks my heart all over again. Thanks for that, Psycho. But this story ends with some poetic justice. Maybe they were tired for fighting with a little girl, maybe she realized just how badly she had messed up, who knows? But before the next visitation, we got an email from our lawyer explaining deadbeat dad wanted to sign over his rights, it had only been 3 months since he enacted them, and allow me to formally adopt Double D. We were ecstatic, obviously. We agreed and everything fell into place. She never had to see them again, and wifey and I could shoulder the online attacks and occasional face-to-face confrontation from everyone in their family seeing them as the victims. Life got back to normal, and we began to heal. But their story wasn't finished. 2 weeks ago, I got a message from deadbeat dad's sister-in-law who never really took part in the harassment. She's married to his younger brother and just had their first baby. She was hoping we would consider letting Double D get to know her baby since they are biologically cousins. This isn't the way we see family in this house, but I understand other people put an emphasis on DNA. It turns out, the 3 kids Psycho ended up having with deadbeat dad are no longer allowed to visit his side of the family, and Double D is the only biological cousin left. Why? Because deadbeat dad violated an 11-year-old girl he and Psycho were supposed to be babysitting. He went to prison and Psycho divorced him, banning his entire family from seeing any of the kids. My heart bleeds for the little girl who had her life ruined. But I am human, so forgive me when I say, after watching that Psycho twist my little girl all up inside, I feel satisfied with her serving of karma. This story's called Entitled Dad Tries to Bully Me at the Comic Shop. Coworker is not having it. Allow me to set the scene. This happened when I was 17-18, when I was working at a comics and collectibles store in my small town. We were a very tight-knit store family, and about 80% of the customers we would see in a day were our regulars. On the day in question, my coworker, we'll get to him later, was taking his well-deserved lunch break in the back room, away from the main store. Although I was pretty new at the time, I was fine handling the store by myself for an hour or so, and it was a slow day, a few weeks after Christmas. Enter the entitled dad with his unfortunate 5 to 6-year-old son in tow. Entitled dad is extremely well-dressed, visibly wealthy, and barely even glances at me as he walks up to the register. I don't recognize him, which means he's not a regular. As he comes in, he's holding the box for a mid-range Transformers some assembly required figurine. The box is open at one end, and the frames that hold the punch-out pieces are sticking out of the top, along with some of the plastic packaging and directions. I can hear loose pieces rattling around inside. He unceremoniously drops the box on the counter.
We need to exchange this for another one.
Now, if you know anything about small businesses, especially ones that sell collectibles, you'll know that return exchange policies are pretty non-existent. We just don't have the profit cushion to make up for it. However, my boss is a softie, and for regulars or in cases of broken merchandise, he sometimes makes an exception. Tentatively, I tell Entitled Dad that we don't usually do returns or exchanges, but I ask if there was a problem with the toy, and I ask if he has his receipts. Entitled Dad is on the verge of snapping.
My son and I couldn't put it together. Listen to me. I'm not asking you for a refund. We're just going to exchange it for another one. All the pieces are there. I shouldn't have to keep every receipt. I bought it here. You clearly sell these toys.
And he immediately hauls his poor kid over to the shelves where we display our Transformers. Now, I don't believe for a second that all the pieces are in that box, especially since it looks like they stuffed it all back in without trying to even make it fit. I'm a non-confrontational type of person, and my anxiety was already bad enough at this point, so I realize I am not equipped to handle this Entitled Dad. So I go to get my coworker, who we'll call Dean. Dean is the kind of person that you picture when you think of "don't frick with me" energy. He used to be a tattoo artist, he's covered in ink and piercings, always wears band tees, has a dark beard, tall and fit, etc. He carries a stainless steel cane for some leg issues, but in his hands, that cane looks like a weapon. However, he's always extremely kind and professional, up until the exact second that you piss him off. Even I'm a little afraid of Dean, to be honest. I peek into the back room, already feeling terrible for interrupting Dean's lunch, and tell him I need his help with a customer who's demanding to return a toy. He heads back out into the main store area with me, and I see his expression go sour the moment he spots the busted open box sitting on our counter. Dean turns to Entitled Dad and asks,
"So, you're wanting to return this toy, is that right?"
Entitled Dad absolutely flips his manure.
"No! I am exchanging it for another toy because I bought it here, and my son can't put his Christmas present together." He rounds on me. "What did you tell him? I told you it was an exchange!"
Dean cuts him off, steadily approaching rage mode.
"Sir, I can't put this back on the shelf. It's open, the box is bent, and we don't sell used merchandise. We don't offer returns or exchanges. It said so on your receipt when you bought it."
Entitled Dad is shouting even louder now.
"This is ridiculous! I bought it here. Just put it back in the box then. All the pieces are there. If I can't even figure it out, it's probably defective."
Dean is not having it.
"You expect me to accept this on your word that all the pieces are there, then sell it to another customer with half the pieces broken out already? This toy is for ages 12 and up, and if you can't figure out how to put it together, that's not my problem. If you want a new toy, you're gonna have to pay for it. Otherwise, you need to leave."
I'm practically blacked out from fear of confrontation at this point. I don't remember the particulars of the rest of the shouting match, but I do remember making eye contact with Entitled Dad's poor kid, who looked absolutely humiliated by his dad's behavior. In the end, Dean makes it incredibly clear that he's not going to accept Entitled Dad's busted up toy, and that Entitled Dad needs to leave or we will call the police. Fuming, Entitled Dad snatches the box back and drags his kid away, all the while threatening us with the Better Business Bureau, bad online reviews,
"I'm never shopping here again,"
etc., etc., etc. Still fuming himself, Dean looks over and asks me if I'm alright. I nod.
"If that butthole comes back here, you come get me, okay?"
I nod and Dean disappears into the back room to finish his lunch. And no, Entitled Dad did not come back. I will never understand how people think it's okay to yell at strangers like that. Like, I literally do not understand the mindset of, I'm gonna come into this store and start yelling at this individual who's literally just following instructions and doing what they're paid to do. I just don't understand where that freaking, "Oh, stranger, I yell at you. It's not your fault, but I yell at you, idiot." This story's called Entitled Mother Leaves Child on My Doorstep. I work in a preschool and sometimes babysit kids from work, especially when we are on break. Because of Modelo virus, we are canceled. Because my sister has a disability and is immunocompromised, my whole family agreed to go into self-isolation. Thankfully, most of us can work from home. We would limit our contact with all others, even other family members, to protect my sister. I was playing outside in the driveway with my brothers when a familiar car pulls up, and one of the little girls, let's call her Susie, from preschool gets out of the car. I have babysat her many times before, but never agreed to on this occasion. I assumed the mom was going to ask me to watch her, but when I approached the car, she speeds off, leaving poor Susie there. I had not made any previous arrangements to watch her, and I didn't want to let her into my house knowing her father is a frequent flyer, and Susie may be a carrier. I got her some water and let her sit down in the garage to get her out of the way as I tried calling her mom and dad. Neither picked up at first until I finally got a hold of a very angry mom. I explained I couldn't watch Susie and she would have to come back and pick her up. The mom freaked out, saying she was already at work. This is a total lie. She works at a mall that I know for a fact is closed because of the Modelo virus. I tell her that if she doesn't return within half an hour, how far the mall is from my house, I would be calling CPS. She knows we are mandatory reporters because we already had to open a case on her. She explains that she can't, but she says she will send her husband. 15 minutes pass, and then 30. I get Susie some chalk to color with, while maintaining a distance but trying to keep her happy. An hour later, I know no one is coming to get her. I phone CPS in the non-emergency police line, and police arrive at my house in a couple of minutes. I explain to them the whole situation, and thankfully a CPS worker is able to get there pretty quickly. The mom phones me later and yells at me for Susie being taken by CPS and them having another investigation, saying I always watch Susie during break. I explain my immunocompromised sister, and she is very offended. I even suggested Susie might be sick. I didn't even bother to explain that she could be a carrier without showing symptoms. Entitled Mother claims she won't be returning Susie to our preschool because of my appalling and disrespectful behavior. But I know that she has been kicked out of all the other preschools. I wouldn't mind if Entitled Mother never came back, but I would certainly feel bad for little Susie. I'll try to remember to update this post when school is back in session. Stay safe and healthy, y'all. Okay, that's honestly horrible, and I really hope Susie doesn't know what's going on there, but she probably does. That's not cool. Don't make your kids feel like they're not freaking wanted, and don't attempt to abandon your child at a closed daycare. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.